Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic podcast, sponsored by Rack Coach, Tip of the Spear, the Top Hopper, and Sports Workbook. And I am letting y'all know today, for anybody that is watching, you will save 25% on First Down Playbook. I just got the text from my friend Charlie Coigner, and y'all use it. Don't you, Coach? Y'all use First Down Playbook. Y'all will save 25% with this code. The code is, I got it right here on my phone. It's two different codes. And the 25%, use this code, CFC for Championship Football Coaches, 25. CFC 25. You will save 25% on the team playbook. Coach, talk a little bit about that First Down Playbook. And isn't it awesome that we just let people know about this and we have you on from Mission Viejo, and Mission Viejo uses it. And if Mission Viejo uses it, y'all should be using it. So, Coach, tell us about that First Down Playbook.
Yeah, well, firstly, Coach, thank you for having me onto this podcast. You know, it's been a couple of weeks in the making, but no, it's really good to be on here. Funny enough, I was talking to Charlie the other day from First Down Playbook, just talking about some of their updates and some of their mobile sites and apps developments that are going to be doing. But for us, First Down Playbook is just it's so nice because we use Huddle. Anyone has Huddle and they can use that format. But First Down Playbook just kind of it makes it so cleaner, so crisp. You can really make all your adjustments, all your looks look so different. Really differentiate everything clearer. I feel.
What is better? What is better about First Down Playbook than Huddle's Playbook?
So when it's so Huddle's Playbook, you know, and it's for what it is, it's solid. But I think Huddle's their USP is about obviously their film, the sideline systems, all that kind of stuff. That's what they really were designed for. The playbook element is nice, but with First Down Playbook, you can create your play grids, which is one of the newer things we're using. So you can have, like, you know, when you print out PowerPoint, you can get 8 squares in here. You know, you can have everything going to left, everything going to the right. You can have all your notes underneath. You can have philosophy boxes. You can create, you can add your video. I was playing around with that the other day too. So every play I have on, I can add the video to that play, link to it. You can update. You don't duplicate anything, or so you don't end up erasing over anything, which can happen. You can set up duplicates. It's easy to find stuff. I mean, it's just getting better each time. You know, the great thing about Charlie, those guys are taking in a lot of info, a lot of things from us, saying, "Hey, this is what we can do. What you guys have as ideas?" Throw those in, and it becomes a coach's system. You're paying for something that you pretty much helped design, and
wow,
it's worth it, man. It absolutely really is. And Charlie's a great guy too, and you know,
and he gave us a heck of a discount, man. 25%.
Jump on it, people.
He's from Virginia, and I met him at the AFCA convention. I was walking around from booth to booth, and I ran into his basketball young lady. Gotcha. I mean, she looks like a point guard. She's a big girl. Okay, she's tall. She looks like a wide receiver, and or a fullback. I started talking to her. I said, "You want to come on the podcast?" She was like, "No, but Charlie will." So Charlie comes over, starts talking to me from Virginia. Then he goes, "I coached in the NFL." Like, dude, I look like a bum.
The Bills, I think.
Guy coached in the NFL, and now he's got this playbook that Mission Viejo uses, and now they're hooked up with us, man. Ain't that? Isn't it? We're blessed, aren't we, Coach?
We are indeed, man. The football world is.
So tell me, and everybody else out there watching, a little bit about you, Coach. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? And how did you get over here to America?
Okay, so I am originally born and raised from North London. I'm a London guy. I'm an avid Tottenham Hotspurs fan, so I'm in a good mood because we won this morning.
I don't even know what that is. What is
that? It's a soccer team. So it's the round ball But so for those guys, I'm like, oh, who does he support? So I was born and raised North London. Just about to turn 42 this year. Don't look the day over 20, I know, but
you look good.
Turn 42 this year. And like most people, it's funny. The game of football has been around, obviously for a century or plus, right? And ironically, it was created in England. One day in a town, I believe it was a town called Rugby, some guy decided to pick up the ball and throw it forwards to someone, and someone was like, "What the hell are you doing?" They all went to a pub, sat down, and started created the rules that is American football.
So you're telling me American football was actually created in England?
It was So how the story goes, there's different ways. But
man, those guys in Ohio are going to be upset when they hear this, man.
So it was a game of rugby.
Created in England.
It was a game of rugby.
What did they call it? Did they? What game did they call it? Football?
Yes, they turned.
But they could throw it now.
But that was the whole thing. It was a game of rugby, and the guy decided got the ball and just went threw it forwards to someone. Everyone kind of froze, didn't know what to do. And then they went off and sat in a pub and wrote down the rules and created what is now American football. I remember may rest in peace, Steve Sobel did a bit on it on NFL Films about a decade or so ago, talking about the very story. So I got into it. I like most people as a kid, had the very first Madden on Sega Mega Drive, playing in 1992, playing of the old at the time the best team on there was the Denver Broncos. You'd either throw the Hail Mary or the H-back dive with Terrell Davis. So I'm playing as a kid, and I'm the youngest of 7. So my brother above me started playing when he was like 19, and I was probably 12, 13. And I heard about it, and I watched it on TV. We had it all got it on our cables and stuff, but never really got into it. And then I started playing. I went to college, or university as it would be in England. Started playing, joined up the team, and never looked back. And that was back in 2001. And played for a few years, got to win a national championship with that team. Came into a buck suite system, that wing tee principle. It wasn't pure wing tee, but it was 21 personnel. Played all of that. We used to flip our O-line over, so you only learn one side. But then as the game started to grow and you started to play, you played in. So when you played in for the all-star teams, you got selected or played for our country or anything of a tour, which I got to do. And I got to play a couple of times out in America, up in Northern Cal. You ended up learning so many different systems. So you go into learning to run in the run and shoot at the time, true spread offenses. That's when I started getting the first taste of sort of outside zone and stretch and working from that sort of offset eye formations and all that kind of all those kind of looks started to come through. Then I was actually a D-line coach for a little while too. I like D-line, but my heart and my soul will always be offensive line. So I played, unfortunately, like most people, got an injury, tore my knee, and then I went from there. Then I ended up becoming a permanent resident. My father got remarried, moved out to America, put me and my brother up for a green card back in 2000, and 13 years later, get a letter saying, "Hey, you could be a permanent resident." And then I was like, "Okay." And I was obviously coaching at the time, and then I moved out on October 8th, 2013. And I remember it. I landed at 3:00 at LAX, and then the next morning it rained all day, and I was so mad. I was like, I just left the country that rains probably 60% of the time.
No
to
doubt.
California, to then for it to rain, I was so mad. Then it didn't rain for a year after that, so I was like, okay, I'll live. And I had just won. Funny enough, I'd won our National League Championship with the team I coached with, Colchester Gladiators, on the Saturday. Moved to America on the Tuesday. So I was still partying for about 2 weeks after that. And then got on the old internet, said football teams I lived in Laguna Beach. Football teams that live in Laguna Beach. Laguna Beach High School came up, and we started off that journey with them. And a little small school with a beautiful ocean view. And then I did 5 seasons with them, and then went off to Dana Hills, which is in Dana Point where I live at the moment. And that was just before the pandemic. So we got to do 1 season, and the pandemic hit. And then I was there with them for 3 years, 2 season and a half because we only got to do 5 games. Everyone had their different pandemic come back to play pros. And then I ended up going off and getting into Mission Viejo with the then OC from Dana Hills used to coach there, and went back to Mission and brought me along, and Chad Johnson, the head coach. Got to meet him, had an interview, and the rest is history. So I've been there since 2021. My that being an Englishman threw a lot of people. It throws a lot of people when you start really talking, and when I really get going, I speak in cursive.
It just all runs together.
It does, and you speak really fast. So I have to slow down, enunciate. So it's a little different. I still say stance and grant and little things like that and throw people like, what do you mean, coach? So I get that. My kids spend most of the time trying to obviously try to do my accent, in everything I do. But I loved it. In England, they've been playing football since 82. So collegially was since 86. So, because it's funny when I was telling you the other day, like the misconception, and you hear it from like the commentators about the NFL games in London, like, oh, it seems like people understand the game. I'm like, guys, they've been playing it for 40 plus years. One of the oldest leagues outside. The first people to play it were the Japanese. Started playing it in like 1937, and they started playing American football because they had that relationship with America, and then they've got like 700 high schools in their country play it, and they're pretty good too. They were 5-time world champs. Japanese.
Yeah, I saw them play in Canton.
Yeah, they can sling it, those guys. So I know the International Federation have talked about and looked into making it an Olympic sport because it passes all the criteria. It's played on all continents, and men and women play it. So it might happen. They reckon they're trying to push it at some point soon, which would be pretty cool. I don't know what format, whether it'll be like a flag or something like that to start off with, but the contacts. But yeah, they play it everywhere. There's some really good leagues, man. I know we've got to get you out. We've got to get you out your state, and then we're going to get you out your country. At some point, Troy, we'll make that happen. But you got to go to Europe. And
I didn't pay attention in geometry class, man. I don't even. That's what I've been saying instead of geography. Rhode Island was next to Delaware. I did not know that Rhode Island was next to Boston.
Right.
I mean, I have no clue. I mean, heck, Coach, I'm just blessed. I mean, Coach, talk about Coach McNally. All right, you got a chance to meet him before you came on the show, but what has it meant to you having him on Twitter, being somebody that came to America and you learned about him, and now you just got to meet him today? What has it been like having him on Twitter?
Man, I mean, I'm still in awe of the fact that I got to speak to him and meet him, and it's when you meet, when you get to meet legends or you hear about legends, and I'd heard about Coach McNally just before I kind of got to America. Then when I got here, him, you always learn about the game. You have to be a scholar of the game, right? That's what they always tell you. Like one friend of mine I played for always said, you've got to be a scholar of the game. Just try and understand the history of it, understand the people involved in that, right? And you'd always hear about, you go back to Lombardi's, etc. You hear all those great head coaches. You think, cool, great. But then you start hearing about like coordinators or position coaches that have had major impacts in their spots, right? And examples that I always think to me is like things don't get revolutionized, not so much. When everything gets done, things kind of go back in full circle, right? If something changes, but then you kind of go back to old school thinking ways, or you kind of have an adjustment on that. And you hear guys like Coach McNally, you hear like Howard Mudd, you like just the different styles of protection, going from he's a jump set angle guy to, vertical set, the different types of techniques. But you hear those kind of guys start talking, and you start hearing about Callahan. But then I was hearing this McNally guy, and I'm like, this guy is. And then I remember seeing some YouTube videos where I think he was working with one of those like USA football or something, right? Yeah, and he was talking to some kid, and I'm seeing it's like this really diminutive, and he's a classic diminutive looking guy, but just energy. And you're just like, you don't have to be a giant to play O-line or anything like that, or all that kind of crap. but you're just watching this guy. There's energy and there's attention to detail. And when I talk to my kids and I talk to people, it's like, you've got to have that attention to that detail, the subtleties of the position I coach in particular as an O-line coach. And all the positions do, but O-line coach, it's so subtle. The cliches of the game of inches and the different leverages, it makes so much difference. So listen to him. And I get to wake up in the morning and I'm playing. So if I'm up at usually 6 o'clock or whatever it may be, it's 9 o'clock East Coast. By that point, he's had a 3-hour head start on me, which means you're looking at around about 2 days worth of clinic footage in 3 hours, cut down into 2-minute segments at most.
Yeah.
Clinic won't let you do any more than that. And you're looking at all these gems of information or things that, for me, it reaffirms some stuff that I've always coached, I've always thought about. I think I've always liked that. It's made me want to actually go, let me try that. Actually, I'm really curious. Does it work for me? Because it's not one of those things. He's not telling you, this is you, go and do it. He's saying, hey, this is what I used to do. It's made me rethink a lot of things, long since retired. But this is what you got to look at. This is how you elevate your team and yourself forwards. And you hear these people that are kind of saying, oh, he's the ones that are bitching or whatever it may be. They're either someone that kind of gets paid, fooling people into paying them money to do little camps.
Snake oil salesman. What do y'all call them in England? Snake oil salesman, chicken hawks.
Yeah, secondhand salesman. Yeah, secondhand car dealers.
Yeah, used car salesman. I mean, he cusses me out. He goes off on me. He went off on Alex Marable. All y'all that are watching this, all right, don't get in your feelings because Coach said you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, he told the Miami offensive line coach, Alex Marable, who he said, don't send me any individual film that is not individually labeled because I want to know what you're teaching and what it's called or with a voiceover.
Right.
This is the offensive line coach for the Hurricanes. Okay, and these Twitter guys are getting in their feelings. None of them coach at the Miami Hurricanes. None of them coach at Mission Viejo, but they're upset because he said that they don't know what he's talking about. How does that make you feel, knowing that he's going off on the Miami coach and myself and anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, it's great because no one ever stops learning. No one ever stops learning. I've heard that from the coach's name will kill me now, but he used to think he coached Oklahoma or somewhere decades ago. He goes, you just never stop until you hit 6 feet under. You never stop learning about the game. And that can go right to whether you want to look at Belichick, whatever. Something's different. You may look at something different. You may try something different and principles. And that's what I look at. That's what I do when I look at talking to my kids. I'm like, this is a principle. I always make sure I want to do the research first, make sure I can adapt it to how they need to do it, make sure I'm coaching all the right points, and then I'll try it. When Coach McNally was on with Coach Peters, and I asked that question about, dropping the post. And I'd seen Scott talk about that on a video, and I found the principle really interesting. And then I'd seen something else, which I don't know if it was Coach McNally, but someone else had talked about when they slide the protection. If you're, say, your left guard, you've got the one tech sliding and switching your feet to become a right guard, right tackle, because that's more of a natural position, dropping that post. And I talked about it, I mentioned it in my clinic talk for Coach Tatum, and I think kind of a couple of people were like, really? It's
blasphemy.
Yeah,
But Coach McNally says he got it from Jerry Wampler.
Right.
In 1978, he learned it from the original dude. And he said, and I've always wondered that. I'm like, dude, like we say don't lose your post foot, don't lose your post foot. But I watched the Super Bowl with my team, and the right guard was losing his post foot. And I thought the kid was wrong. Now I find out that's what they were teaching. I didn't know that until I met Coach McNally.
And, like I said, and it's a really interesting thought process. So, as I'm about to get into spring, going to test it. At high school, you can still get away with pounding a post, but out here, when you're facing some of those John Bosco's, Centennials, So you're playing against when I'm going against my D line and
future NFL guys.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
players.
adjust a little bit. Some guys can be strong enough and long enough they can pound that post and never got it set. But if he gets set midline or he's crossed it, you can't really pound it, right? It's going to be hard for you to do that. So
just become the center. Become the
center, nose to nose, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
so
the center changes his post foot.
He does, yeah.
So, so why can't a guard? I mean, I never thought of it, man.
But blasphemy. So little things like that. So getting it from.
So people were upset when you said that.
It wasn't this upset. Someone just had I think someone asked a question. It was like 15 question marks. Like, really?
Yeah.
Which I get it. And I was when I first heard it, I get it. Like, it's interesting. And when he shows the film, when he was talking about it, I think it was when it was at the Cowboys. I'm like, I see that. You got Zach Martin switching his feet. I get it. It's that fine balance from going too far to opening out to just dropping and being long. So, holding that length, it's just trying to stop being counterintuitive, to your brain, because you think, well, I'm so used to being tight, well, actually want to be long, and then it's, run game, hey, you want to bring it, if you're up, you're going to bring them in close and one-on-one, they can't do moves, but actually you want to be long, but when you work in your combos, so there's lots of things that I just love from listening to coach. I'm like, that always made sense to me. I can stick with that, and like I said, you get that from the greats and those that have kind of in our position, which is why the Cool Clinic, the Mushrooms, the unsung heroes, that fungus underneath, those that get that recognition. I always tell people, guys always asking me, kids, like, Coach, who do you think is a really good player in the NFL? And I said, well, this position, if you're looking at tackles, you kind of, when you watch them, you watch the techniques, it's different styles. You've got like your Trent Williams, your Tunzels, different styles, but you've got guys that can give you old man strength and power. You've got guys that can be more finesse. You've got the Lane Johnsons of the world. They're coming through. My man played a whole half a season of a torn pec. What I mean? Like half his arm is falling off, but he stopped the defensive MVP from doing anything in the championship game. You know what I mean? So you're watching guys just masters of their arts, and then you start looking at guys inside from, like I said, there's like Martins to going from Quentin Nelson when he's on form. So, and it's just those little things. So when you listen to coaches, I'm like, Callahan, like Gibbs, and you go and see some of those old videos on YouTube, and they've got like the old OHPs, they write it on a little pen, it's coming on, and you could just sit there for an hour and a half in a darkened room with these guys. And I think if I could, I would. If you want to sit there and we can talk about a backside combo for 2 days. It's give me movement, give me a head up, give me whatever it may be. And that's what I love about him, and just the fact I got to meet that guy, meet an absolute legend, was just like, holy hell. So I'm just going to continue on and keep fighting that flag for him, and I know you will, and anyone that doesn't like anything he says or they think I'm better.
Yeah, they're going to catch the wrath, dude. If anybody says anything bad about Coach McNally, man, we're coming after you.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you're sitting there and you coach a particular way, your team is a 10-time state champion and O-line, you're producing these guys, great. No one's telling you that you have to. No one's saying that you have to. But it's really hard for you to justify when someone who's of that caliber.
Yeah, don't disrespect your elders. I know that in the English culture.
Yeah.
You don't disrespect your elders. You don't disrespect guys that have been in Super Bowls.
Right.
Talk about that. I mean, in the English culture, y'all ain't disrespecting your elders and the people who were the greats of the game or the greats in their.
No. And, when you look at that in terms of that respect, you always have to respect your elders, be respectful to people. There's always, as I call them, fuck knuckles, there's always numpties out there. But you'll always have that respect in whatever sport it may be. A pioneer in that sport, you'll always respect him. Right?
Pioneer.
And you respect what they do. So when you go, when I talk to my kids, the kids I coach or anyone, they said, like you look at things that have changed the game, Tom Landry brought in the 4-3, and everyone's like, okay, this thing's a little different, right? It's not just let's just have all 9 guys, 10 guys on the line with one guy behind. We don't have that. Let's do 4-3. That was revolutionary. Then moved forward and got adjusted. When you look defensively, guys that I used to coach with on the defensive side, Well, what you want to do? Well, let's just run Tampa 2. Everyone started running Tampa 2 for a freaking decade and still have elements of it now. Money Kiffin, love to sit down and listen to him just talk. He created a whole concept.
I bet you Coach McNally knows him.
For sure. And the other one,
I bet you he could give me his number, dude. That wouldn't that be something?
Right, him. And I would say the other one would be, for me, it would be Dick LeBeau.
Do you know the story about Dick LeBeau?
Which part of it?
Well, the story with me and Dick LeBeau.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Coach McNally gave me Dick LeBeau's number, and I texted him. I hope I saved it. I texted him, and I called him and left a message. Okay, and Dick LeBeau responded. Can you believe that?
No
I mean,
way.
there's guys on Twitter who don't even respond. Dick LeBeau responded, and I hope I still have the text. I mean, he goes, I do still have it. Thanks for texting again, Coach. I gave the podcast some thought, but I don't want to get started down that road. Have turned down several invitations, and I think I will just continue to do so. I wish you a lot of success in the upcoming football season.
That's cool, man.
I mean, dude, ain't that the nicest rejection
Right?
that you've ever heard from a Hall of Fame player and coach?
Yeah. Hall of Fame both, yeah.
Yes, sir. Thanks for texting me back. Thank you for the invitation. Dick LeBeau.
Man, that's that. And that fire zone blitz stuff is just,
he gave me his number.
Right, I was sat in a clinic with someone, the coach that ran it, that worked with him at the Steelers, and they make the most simplest thing look so complicated. It's just like just from the 3-man service up front, you're thinking you're getting 35 different things, but you're literally getting 2.
Yeah,
and then you get the right personnel, and that's what works. But yeah, so just as pioneers, and then like I said, in the O-line and going on from there, and it's always great to do that and listen to that, and that's what kind of helps me in terms of learning and developing my game. And what I try and do, when I'm coaching with the kids, and it's just, I have no kids myself, but people ask me, "Got any kids?" I said, "Yeah, I've got 15 of them." I'm coaching online, they're all the pseudo uncle, father figure for some. It's always varies. You think it's California kids, they're gonna have it easy. Southern Cal, not really. I've had coached extremes, bad situations to great situations. Like they'll never want for anything. So it will always vary. It'll always be great. But I find that when I was coaching or when I started at Mission, and even prior to then, it's always about, which is one of the things I said I wanted to talk about, was like the engagement. In the high school football, you'd always, and I imagine it's pretty universal. You struggle to get your kids to watch film. That's assuming you even get to film games anyway, right? You've always got to back up. How can you film your games? Can you film your practice? So on and so forth. So all those different things you got to try and do, right? And if you want something done, you go and get it done. You know what I mean? If you want to film your practice, $120, get a camera, get a little tripod for $20, hold it, film it, get a GoPro, whatever. When there's a will, there's a way, right? Mm-hmm. So, some of those coaches that bitch at Coach McNally probably don't even do half of that stuff. So they don't even know why they're upset. So anyway, I digress. But, you spend all that time so you can get the end zone view, because there's O-line, we live for end zone view, right? So, spend all of that. So it was always one of those things, like you use like the huddle system, you can see how much time they have and what they've used. And you're like, I'm getting kids going 20 seconds, a minute. I'm like, that's 4 clips, guys. I'm like watching this. And then then you get mommy and daddy. Why is my kid not playing? Well, this is what he's doing. And then let's look at him academically too. It all correlates. Right, we're not just here because I'm big on academics too. Like I'm fortunate that I've got. So for my 3 seniors I got this year, I've got one's been nationally recruited. The other 2 are getting recruited, Pac-12 and MAC, and so I've already got offers too. My nationally recruited kid's about to get his 20th. But it helps when you're great. He's 6'7", 290, but he's got a 4.6 GPA.
Yeah.
And he's not even struggling to get out. He's keeping that. So he's got Ivy Leagues to Wisconsin to Minnesota to
anywhere. He's 5-star.
Yeah, he's just getting.
5-star.
He's about to hit the rake him at 4, but he's about to hit 5. Great
We
kid.
Can go anywhere he wants. I mean, has Alabama offered him?
No, but I didn't run into one of their Alabama days. So,
and he's going to be a senior.
He's going to be a senior, and he actually went into his sophomore year. After his sophomore year, when I got him, he ended up getting his first 2, and then his junior year exploded. And then he's just included. But no, it's Alabama. I think they've just invited him to one of the Alabama days this month event, and he's out visiting at the moment. He's out visiting Tennessee and Wisconsin and roundabout. So he's like I said, but academics, guys, always put on your kids. At the end of the day, it's academics. I've got one kid that wants to get into UPenn because he's like a 4.0. He's just on that edge, but he's like,
he wants to go to business school.
He wants to get smart, right? Because he knows the future.
America.
As much as it's great football, it's a great academic school. So, unfortunately, I've got at least 6 4.0s and above. And then after that, I probably got the lowest is maybe like a 2.9, probably averaging like 3.5. So we're pretty smart academic in that respect. But, it's about them trying to engage and understand what we're trying to do. We run a multiple spread system, pretty much it's college level, in terms of depth and what you expected. So you have to learn and get you in it. So I'm like, well, how can I get you guys to learn or get you guys to watch film, encourage it without just making you do stadiums or do up downs? Now, we may roll, and we still roll every now and then. Hey, you got to roll because you're being a dipshit somewhere or doing something, or you've got to really understand what you got to do. But in the grand scheme of it, what can we do? So one of the first things I did as I got into the season, into something which not reinventing a wheel, it's just kind of, I imagine coaches will probably do similar things, is that we'd break up our practice of that week. So we started Monday. So I started to name the first 3 days of our week. So Monday would be known as Marvelous Monday. So we come in and got a nice PowerPoint on the screen, Marvelous Monday. Show every kid love as they come through. And all we do is initially is watch every touchdown from the game before and just enjoy it. Enjoy the moment together as a group. Because when you're in the game, you celebrate, but everyone's in and out, then you got to focus on the mistakes or whatever it may be. But let's just enjoy it, and then, hey, work on the celebration as an old lineman, come up with a dance, I don't care. Just enjoy that moment, whether it's 3 touchdowns to 10 to whatever. And then we don't even worry about the technique or any issues. Just enjoy that moment. And then we go through game plan, etc. Tuesday becomes Tremendous Tuesday. And then the kids wanted me to find as good as it was. So it was Tremendous Tuesday, and then it was, what did we call Wednesday? Wondrous. I like to do us words like tremendous, wondrous. So on Tuesday, one of the big things, I was like, well, okay, it's always us talking. So I changed it up and I said, hey, I'd film our practice and we'll split it into inside run and then our team session. Usually it's 15 plays. I have the script, I'm doing end zone view, I'm always holding the camera, shouting at kids. And then when we get to Monday, when we get to Tuesday, I'll get one of my linemen to lead the film breakdown. And you get them to talk about, so they'll have the script, they talk about all technique, schematic issues, whatever it may be. It gives them a chance to get used to public speaking, give them a chance to get the other guys to engage and critique themselves and see what they see if they're seeing what you've been telling them the whole time. So let me tell you, the difference in terms of the engagement from the kids, wasn't like they would never talk to me or anything, but it's just, I think they felt a little bit more relaxed. They can kind of be a little bit more jovial, but they understand what they're seeing. You're starting to think, okay, it's starting to embed in what they do. And each week it's a different player. So you're starting to get some of the younger guys too to start to do and get more confident in what they're doing in the system. And then sort of the last bit is that I would always do is that I would get my guys to grade themselves in the game. So rather than just me grading, that's it. You grade yourselves. I'm going to get my JV team to start doing it too. So I'm going to make sure we try and film those games. But they'll grade themselves and they'll add things like, and in the columns I'll have huddle highlight. If you think this is a highlight for your huddle, so you can help yourself get recruited, and then comments, and then put your notes down. It could be 1 or 2 words, it could be a sentence, and they'll even say, "Hey, coach, what did you think here? I think my feet were great," or "I missed this. I was lazy. I didn't finish." And you'll just get it. And we average about, to be honest with you, last year we were probably having about 30, 40 plays a game if we were lucky at times. And the kids can go through it. So now you've got them to watch practice, and you've got them to watch a whole game. And now, when I've given them the sheet and everything, it'll either just be the clip number, or if I got the time, I've done it from the night before and I've given it to them, it'll have the script of what we called in that game. We'll put on there so they know what the play was, and then they can do that. And so you start to get numbers went up, players became the guys starting to understand, everything starts to become a bit more interchangeable. So a guy that's on the periphery gives himself a chance. And, you're only as good as your lowest common denominator, right? So it went up that way. But, yeah, once they're doing a huddle highlight and then they start putting their comments down, and you'll start to see the nature of the kids you have. Some kids are really like, yeah, I was great. Some kids are like really self-aware, really critique themselves. You get some that think they were just terrible. Like, well, so you got to balance them out a little bit. So, those were the things. And I implore any coach, if you're looking to kind of do something a little different, try it. Especially get them to grade 2. Because if you sit there and you're giving your guys 60%, 65, 63, and they're coming back with the same number, or as most kids, usually higher, but it's the same, similar, you're all on the same wavelength.
Yeah, and they know your expectation, like you said. They know what's good and what's bad. They know what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah,
and everybody's
absolutely
on the same page. And the best way to learn something is to teach it. So I totally agree with all that, man.
Yeah, and it is great. And and when we and so when I do things with the kids and different, it's visual learning, visual reps. So when I coach in certain techniques, you'll get guys, and it's one thing I can actually show you on the huddle, from my huddle, and I can show when I because we share the screen, I can show you.
Yeah,
is that we
Do you know Jason Eddings? Because he was
I
asking.
have not met Jason, but he did add me on Twitter. But I see he's at Western. I want to know how long he'd been at Western, because when I was at Laguna Beach, we played Western a couple of times, so we might have met.
Yeah, he was on Tatum's. And he said Mission Viejo in Orange County, and I was like, I don't know. I think so. Yeah. So he must know you or knows of you.
Yeah, Western High School is just a little bit further north than us. Oh, and on my Twitter, it's Stephen, Stephen, that one on my Twitter, just so you know.
I misspelled it.
Yeah, it's add the E between it.
So Stephenson is right on the top up here.
PH. What have you got? V.
I don't know. I think I can switch it. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, no problem. But my Twitter handle was Tarquin Stephen, STEPH. But yes, so as I was just going through a couple of things here. But yeah, so when we're talking about some of the work we do, and I try to ensure that my kids understand what they're doing, it's about maximizing the reps, right? And I want to make sure that you don't have kids, when you can, not standing around. And now working on our gallop technique here. This is just a little drill we're doing on that. And let me minimize mine so I can go to my screen. Okay, so when we're here and we're working, everyone's working in the good old Crowther. The greatest piece of equipment you could have is the old Crowther sled.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we have it, the better. But what I'll do is, so I work high foot and 2-step. But what I'll get is I'll get my whole line behind me working their steps. So as you work in your group, everyone's working at muscle memory. Then I'm standing here. This was me holding the camera, and I can look and say, "Hey, 77, you're a little bit too high," or your hip. So everyone gets their muscle memory going. There's 2 steps, and some bad technique up here at the top too. So young kids getting their heads down, feet narrow. But you're just working. I'm just working that set, working those times when I'm working in doubles. Now we're working 2-step. Now the 2-step, you're just working on the outside foot and then gather in, or you can shuffle down. 68 goes too far down. You get some guys that are a little bit too wide. 72 here wasn't too bad. I his step, he was trying to work with the outside first and then set inside. And then we're working and we're kind of striking on our hands, right? So we kind of work that sort of mass movement of doing, getting guys involved in their set within that technique. It's a little easier to do in things like Gallop. You can do it on your sleds too. If you still use a 5-man sled, we do still use that machine. A lot of that's just more getting stronger. But on my sled, and I haven't got one on the sled here, but on the sled, we end up getting the mini T-pad. So the pad is literally about this big on a 5-man sled, and it's pretty awesome actually to use it for that because they have to get their hands in tight and they can still be long, etc. on that. But we're working on that movement, and the same sort of thing here, 2-step. Some guys are stepping out too wide, like 54 here is kind of stepping out. He should be stepping up and in, or he could be shuffling down, working on his 2-step. This is from a couple of years ago. This was my first year here with the guys. I think we're working on that. So working on a Gallop to then get your hands to reset. Same thing. 75, that's the kid that's going to get nationally recruited.
6'7"?
75. He's a sophomore.
Yeah, he's big.
He's a sophomore here. Yeah, he's going to. So I can come out of this. But where was I? I'm not sure I'm doing this. So so that's when we're working on obviously doing multiples in terms of that, in our system. Excuse me, let me come out of this here. Move down a little further. Our double teams going here, trying to get our gallops. Our D-line loves, our coach is really good at working his splits with his guys. Yeah, let me get some here, the combos here a little bit. I just want to show you, then I can just show you a little film so you can get some of it translated into that film for you. Get you something right here. So we try to be,
nice.
So with some of our kids say, this was about a year ago now. It wasn't last season, the season before. So everyone's a little bit younger here. But, we're working on, so when we're working on those double teams, we're working on those gallops and those downs. Let's try and get straight to the end zone for you here. So we're here. We're trying to work on what we got called here. So working on the zones, working on the combos. Sometimes our guys, guys are getting their eyes down. The eyes go, the body goes. They've got to understand, their body position with that. And, we really try and rep that, and that's where we're taking on our consistent steps with these guys. But we like to run some of the pin-pull principles, and I got that. I'd say I got it, but I liked the idea of it from Coach Mirabal when he was at Oregon with Coach Cristobal. And on his Cool Clinic talk, he talked about working there, turning into almost a pin and pull for their sort of their outside zone. So and you're starting to see a lot more of that now. People have different names for it, G, outside G, whatever you want to call it. Coach Mirabal would have that, where he'd have his backside tackle work. That was, if they're going against a 3-tech, the guy can pin and can pull the back, and so he's still treating a combo. And remember Mirabal, so I took that to my coach. I said, Coach, we can start looking to do that with our guys, and that's something that we're really a lot better at. Some guys are athletic enough, like this kid can skip, pull. Some guys are open, so you get a bit of both here. You got an open here, you got a skip. Teach them everything.
Coach me up on the rules on that.
So on the rules on that, yeah. So we would have called. So we've got so on our rule is a couple of ways. So we have got pin and pull on our call, so we'll have that. But when we run in our outside zone, okay, it's more of a week-to-week situation. If we're seeing that, it's real tough, we're in a real tough situation, so we're going against a 1-tech. We think, man, we want to get the combo, but it's really hard for the center to get his hand from under his butt and get him take over. Well, let's pin it. If our center's athletic enough, we'll pin it. So we'll make a call. It could be grilled cheese, or some calls, whatever we have, right? We know that guard can pin down, center will pull. Okay, now they communicate with me, you, whatever we decide. I like to decide some of the calls, but I like to give my guys free reign because you guys are on the field at the end of the day. So if I tell you, say me, and you forget me, but you know you're going to call dum-dum is an easy call, then call dum-dum. I don't care. As long as you understand you're going to execute. So that would be the case. Now, this play, we would have predetermined. We said, hey, well, we know when they kind of give us that underfront look here, well, hell, we're going to crease. Well, let's pin. Let's get our center. We knew he can pull right here. We're working down, and then we're just gonna go. Everyone else still works backside, outside zone principles. So it's still going to work here to cut off, pin, and it's an easy little tweak, but very much, coach, it's a week by week look. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, so then we had our insert, some of our tight end guys are lean, or some of our little wise. He's probably about $180 if he's lucky on a good day. So some guys like to make, as was it Dion would say, the business decision when they're making a block. Where some guys were fortunate, a little bit more physical. So working with our zone here. Making our combo. So our guys, like I said, this was a couple of years ago. So they were working more of the teaching and more of the gallop to work down when they're working on their combo. He the center, as you'll see here, kind of gets on a long arm. On it. He kind of comes off a little quick, like Coach McNally was talking about, I believe, 2 days ago. There's all my guys, with the center and the G coming off, and he's not pressing enough on that nose to help make the play. Now, we're fortunate the nose is static on his feet, but when you get that better level teams which we face, we've got to ensure that we're pressing, we're long with our covered guy before we come in to try and take over and get that movement.
Hey, Coach, keep going. I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick.
Yes,
okay?
sir. Yes, sir. We'll do. So we got, let me come back here. Let me come back out of this one for you. And then we have so then when we're looking at, for you guys, as we were talking, and we'll start looking at, if I can show you some of our past set stuff too. Where did I put coaches? This is a talk obviously I did with Coach Tatum, but we can go through some of the film here. Jeez. Okay. So as we were talking and about looking at obviously our run game, now when we're looking at our sort of pass game, and this is some of the stuff I talked about in the clinic with Coach Tatum, but I didn't get to unfortunately didn't get to go through all of the passing concept or some of the film shots that we had. So I can go through some of these a little bit here. And just working on some of our techniques. So when I teach with our kids, I'm a hard set, vertical set, 45s is the sort of 3 sets that we do powering down. But like I said, I'm going to talk about and look at sort of the drop in the post element in terms of that as a look, and making sure I get on top of that a little bit more consistently. But, when we get out here in California, sorry, Coach. So yeah, I'm just going through some of the past set stuff, and just actually some of the past film that some of the clips I didn't get to go through in the clinic with Tatum, and just talking to that because it was just some interesting.
What year is that right there? What year is that?
This was last season.
Yeah,
So
y'all had a good season.
Yeah, so the season just gone. Yeah, so the season just
What
gone.
size are those guys? Those guys are big.
Yeah, so going through across to my line, so the no-fly zone, as Coach Taylor was saying, guard to guard in that box, that dip, just an area we protect. We protect you of your life.
Yeah,
You're looking at, so this is the tackle.
that's the huge
18,
kid.
he's 6'7", he's now 291. He was 275 there. Right guard, let's see, get a little bit more. Right guard is 78. He's 6'5", 270. Center is 6'3", 280.
That's a big offensive line, dude.
Yeah, my left guard, he's just graduated. He's just going to University of San Diego. He was 6'2", 280. He's now like 301 or something now going into college. This kid was 6'4", about 265, 270. He kind of lost a little weight just because he got a little sick during the course of the year. So we're all pretty big.
Yeah.
So these are 1, 2, 3 are going to be seniors. And then,
you got that whole right side of your line back.
Yes, sir. Whole right side of my line. And then there's a couple of clips. They'll probably even have some of the juniors now to be juniors playing. I've got a kid who's 6'3", about 260. I've got one kid who's just coming to us. He's about 6 foot 6'1", but he's like thick, like 280. Like feels like a cinder block when you put your hand on him. Like he's a nice kid. I'm gonna obviously start working with him for the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we get some size. I have coached when I was at Laguna Beach, and we made it to our CIF semifinal, our playoff semifinal. The heaviest guy on my line was just about 200, and we broke every school record, passing, touchdowns, etc. And the lightest guy was 150. So if you coach it right and you get it right and understand the scheme, you can kind of get away with, that's a lower division in terms of who we had, the level of the kids they're playing. But we had some talented dudes on the skills, and our quarterback could sling it. He was a very good tennis player, funny enough. So go figure. Our quarterback. So there's our quarterbacks, Ball State. And then the receivers, not this time, but the other receivers, one's at Utah, the other one's at Arizona, and then Cal Poly Slow, and then Fordman. So this team would go through an odd front team, and I worked with a 4-man surface, and this is one of our rival league games. And so, it was just for us, it was our guys, and we had to get a lot better at understanding with them is just knowing what we do in our protection and our scheme. I always tell my guys, you got to know the depth of our quarterback. You can know what we're looking for at that point that we've talked about in each week. If he's showing pressure, then we got to slide out. If they drop, settle back in. So our guys are pretty good. They're set, and then we just come and help pick up and clean up. And Utah's got a great receiver in him. So another one here from this team. I believe, if I remember correctly, this one is a late blitz at the end and they pick up.
A good pickup. And
so when I work with my guys, I want to get back up here a little bit on my computer, it's not, I don't know necessarily if it's a California thing. I don't know if you get the same coach, but we get a lot of twists, right? Get a lot of stunt game. Now you'll see more when it's a 3-man surface that you're going to get a little bit more because you expect that, right? They can mess with your mind a little more. But even with a 4-man surface team, we get a lot of our twists and stunts. And when you get into your practice, your spring and stuff, you want to kind of instill that now. But then you got other battles to pick. Kids learning the basic system in their own game. You're only going to get maybe 30 minutes of indoor, so you got to maximize what you're trying to do, right? So, like I said, all those things where you get everyone running the reps at the same time. When I was talking about pass, I do my transition work with their feet, but you're working all the hand moves too, so you combine them. And the one thing we're talking about when we're working twists, by guys, is on our sets is, hey, whenever you set, and you see it in the pros too, you're going to just have that inside hand here, eyes in your spot, but you got your inside hand just ready for any sort of pressure, right? And if you feel that, then hey, then you can communicate bum, bum, bum. But you've got that same bump call or switch from you can work back. So you'll see in some of these clips where some of the guys are kind of set in with that sort of inside hand here, and they've got their eyes out, and again, they're set, and they're just a little bit more patient with it because they know we're like, hey, we worked on our twist. We know this team's going to work in twist on us. We have to be able to pick that up. So it's hard because unfortunately he's just behind a pole, but his set here is just a little tight. He's got his hand in, but now he can turn. He had a problem. Our left tackle was he would always open his hips a little bit too much. So you're trying to be a little smart here, but we're just patient and get a violent strike and then being long. And then that kid's going to Fordham University. Let's see if he actually might get some depth here. And then, sometimes when it's good and sometimes when you get a bad bit of technique from a guy. So, the DN catches him with this DN here, catches him with a stab chop. A little late with the hands, a little slow in the hands, stab chop. We were fortunate our quarterback could always get the ball out on time. And coach, I don't know if you get the same feeling, but I always, the one thing, there's lots of one things I hate, but many things I do hate is when you're in a pass set and you got one guy just standing there like landing a plane and not doing anything, drives, and I hopefully coaches out there, the people that watch this, I hope he drives you batshit crazy like it does me too. Now, if you're sliding, that shouldn't be the case. If you end up being in a man protection, then you got to go and find your help. If your quarterback's a right, he works your left, and vice versa. Whichever way, however you want to do it, but go and find work. And with my area, the no-fly zone, we tell our guys, you go and find that work, and you go and pick on someone. And so there'll be games where we were facing, especially out here in Cali, we were playing one team, Sierra County, where LeBron James' son goes.
Yeah.
And we're playing there, and they got a D tackle. I think he's going to Arizona now. And it was like, he's a dude. I'm like, okay. Every time he's in center, you better know where he's at. Or you slide, you coming to make sure his day is really long. And we shut him out for the first, actually put 40 or plus on them, shut him out in the first time in school history. And P. Diddy was there watching it too, which was funny. So, because Puff Daddy's daughter goes there. So we enjoyed that one for sure. But yeah, just find that work. Oh no, go and pick on a guy, set, and then we're good to go. And then this was a game which I really enjoyed. So this team here, Centennial, were number 8 in the nation at the time.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah,
they're black and red.
Yes, sir. They Vontae Perfect went there. They got about a few NFL guys. I can't remember the rest of them, but they had some dudes, and not everything's perfect. Not everything is perfect. What I've learned my times from being from England to here, not everything's perfect. You just got to keep trying to figure stuff out and be better at the game. And when we're looking here, my tackle's going to good width and his set. He's so long. He's really athletic, but being 6'7" helps. But he was brand new to the game. Here, right guard, you just get caught leaning a little bit.
This is what Coach McNally, I learned from him. I asked him, I said, which way you like to set the protection? He said, I like to set it to the 3. And I said, well, why is that, Coach, when you got a 1 technique or a gap player? He said, because the 3 technique's always the one that's winning. And I was like, well, okay, thanks, Coach. Thank you for telling me that. Like, there it is right there, man.
Right. And that's the thing. And this guy, Conti, is going to, I think he committed to Arizona. I can't remember where he went to in the end. The kids will know that, tell me where he went. But he was a dude that we were making sure we had to figure out in the game too. He was an outer dude.
Which one, 72 or that one?
No, the kid that beat to the 310.
The kid that won the A-gap, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can go.
He can go. And so we were, and Coach is right, because when I played D-line and when I coached D-line, consistently, you usually put your best dude as your 3-tech. You want to get that one-on-one matchup, right? So you want to ideally get there so that they'll try and this is a 3-man service team, but if you run a lot of 11 personnel, invariably they'll turn into a 4-man service, and they kind of hate being in that. But
yeah, we'll walk that boundary backer down.
Yeah, exactly.
They're almost in a 50 there against y'all. They got both backers down.
Because we were in a slightly tight formation too, and then our guys can just settle back inside and then get in that look here. And then when we're looking at and the thing about with this, and with the The other thing when this guy is, I wouldn't say he's a 3, he's now obviously almost a loose 4 because we've got a tight split, is when we kind of, one thing I always tell guys, and I hope coaches all do the same and think about it, is guys tend to, especially if he's outside the right guard, he'll tend to open up and give that short surface too quickly. That short edge, right? They'll think, well, I'm soft, I'm going to just turn it. Like, you want to keep that square for as long as you can. I think that's one thing that hasn't really changed, right? Because when he talks about it being square, whether it be in a run game, you want to be square for as long as you can, right? So, some guys think that, well, if he's here, let me just turn. No, if you turn in and you get beat and he gets real close, and so he gets a little hit on our quarterback, and the quarterback gets rid of it, and it was a great catch by Mikey, but our quarterback's getting hit whilst he's in the middle of his throwing motion, like he just did, which would drives me insane. But then when we look at like the left side, so he was our left guard 4.4 GPA kid. So he's set in, he gets a little long on the arm, but he's like, well, it's outside because we know our tight end staying in to block on that one, that 6-man protection. Well, he should have been, if I remember correctly. But we were fine outside, but then he can come back and help in the center. And he's just a great catch. But then if you watch, and this is kind of examples why he gets recruited, the right tackle. You just watch him throughout the play. This is what helps him get recruited.
Oh, he's huge.
And he's still going. You know what I mean? Like, and that's me walking down. Like, I always tell the kids, bring him to me. If you're going to block him, bring him to me. So you're starting here and you're finishing out past the referee, blocking a kid.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, man.
Any kid you're trying to coach, whether you want to use this.
Coach McNally would love that.
Right?
He wouldn't have to take his little blue pill tonight and all that.
Right? And I think this is another good little view. I think this was the last one here of this, but I remember talking about this too a little bit, Tainer, but we get, so let me get a little bit here. So left tackle was a great kid. He just he would open out a little bit, but he was strong. He was a really good shot putter. Actually, too. He's going to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which has a good little program. Beautiful part of the world too, actually. You're a mile and a half from the beach, and you got the school sits in the middle of the mountains. It's just phenomenal place. And pass off a guy does a little better job, but then once again, right tackle. Well, hey, I'm just gonna block you. I'm gonna get a pancake instead. There's that old saying, I'm gonna come back to your coach.
You're gonna.
I'm done with sharing. Yeah, there's that old saying, man. There's some things you just can't teach, right? And he's a real great kid, really quiet when I first got to him, and I remember one day in practice, about the first 2-3 weeks, I said, "Kid, I'm going to get you all the scholarships you want, and you're going to be just fine. Just trust me." And he's now created a monster. You know what I mean? He just makes fun of me. I'm like, oh, really? So he's like, but he's a great kid, super smart, really understands what he's trying to do. Ask questions, but it's just, with everything, it's just about, it's different. I don't know. I don't know if it was my Englishness in terms of like my story just coming from somewhere different, a different mindset. Is the British stiff upper lip style and
sense of humor.
Yeah, the one things I haven't lost, I haven't really lost my accent or anything, but it's the turn of phrases, little things that they kind of.
Can you talk like an American? Can you talk like a Southerner?
No,
yeah, you can. No. You can do it. You can imitate us.
No, it's funny because
hi, mine this is Coach Taylor. Come on, you can do it.
So when people ask English people to outside of actors, go, oh, do an American accent, they'll either try and say y'all and all that stuff. Hey, y'all. The Southern twang, or they try and talk like from the Northeast, like coffee.
Yes.
Let me get a couple.
New York, New York or Boston.
Right, you can retarded. That's about as far as you go. I would never proclaim to be put on an American accent for sure. It's not, but I like to I like to blow people's minds when I start talking. They're like, "That's not the sound I was expecting to hear." So
that's what Coach Tatum told me. I'm cool, man. I've met people from everywhere, man.
yeah,
that's
he gets
cool,
used to
man.
it. No,
I'm just impressed, man. I'm impressed
no,
with
we got a
you,
really
man.
good. Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate. I coach with a really great guy, really great head coach, Chad Johnson. He is a really good guy. Really, I mean,
And Bob Johnson was his dad?
no relation. No relation. He was Bob was the head coach beforehand.
And
So
they're not related. So Bob is Rob's dad,
yes,
the tall quarterback.
yes, sir. And I met Rob the other day. He might be coming to coach back with us. I think we'll see. I don't know, but
Yeah.
Rob's a nice guy. Played at my
I met
Buffalo.
the D-line coach that was there with those guys. He was older.
Well, there's the D-line coach is Chase Moline, who used to play at Mission.
This guy that I knew, I met him in like 2004 or
that would have been Chase's coach. I don't know who that is then.
Yeah, he was an older guy. He was great, man. I was like, wow. Because Bob Johnson, Rob Johnson, they were in the Nike, Nike clinic or it was the Nike camps when they used to go around to all the different colleges and do the Nike camps.
Yeah.
And it was at least 3 Mission Viejo coaches.
Yeah. So Chase would have played, and Chase went to, ended up going to UCLA, then coming back and playing. His brother was a Raider, went to the Raiders, and Chase was on the same team with Sanchez. They're best friends. So Mark Sanchez, all those guys played in that 04 team and went off. So Chad Johnson, so we are Under Armour group, and he is the OC for the Under Armour All-American game for the West team, has been for the last 4 or 5 years, whatever. So we just had their camp, the tryout camp last weekend was at our school for Under Armour. There was some.
That's awesome, man.
There was some. I mean, like there was some big kids and stuff, some really good D linemen, O linemen in the future and stuff. But like skill wise and some DBs and stuff, there was some. I was just like walking around like tall kids are just flying, like
wow,
running, and some quarterbacks that you're gonna see that have already committed to some big schools like Alabama's and stuff. And yeah, there's some really good talent, and they play that game in Florida. And Chad will talk in the Glazer clinics. He was in Pittsburgh and Chicago. He'll always go out and talk out that way. Now he's really good. He's a great guy to listen to, and Mission's just got a great tradition. Since Bob Johnson, even prior to him, there'd always been a really good program since they've been built since 1961. So it's always got that tradition. Tradition never graduates. So they pump out some kids in the college, guys into the NFL. There's some guys now. So do you remember the Patriots game when that guy was handing Belichick the football after that special teams play? That was a Mission Viejo graduate school, and so there's 3 brothers. One's in the XFL for Houston, and then he's at the Patriots playing linebacker / safety, and then on special teams. So that's had that viral little video. So get a kid, and there's a couple of kids right now that'll probably get some love in the pros too in the next couple of years. And I think my right tackle,
he's got a shot, man. He
really does.
What they look for.
Yeah, and it really does, and it's definitely fortunate. But no, it's great. It's always nice to watch. It's always nice to games in London. Always sell out in Europe. They never. It doesn't matter who's playing. It could be the worst Jags team in the world versus the worst other team. There'll still be 85,000, 90,000 people will turn up and watch that game, man. And they know what they're doing. They understand what's going on. There's a lot of people there's obviously couch fans like everywhere.
Yeah.
People that are in that game that know what the hell's going on and get into it. And so it's been, like I said, it's been there because it's been there longer. They had the first games they played in Wembley were in 83. That was
wow.
And that was an exhibition game. That was Joe Montana's 49ers versus Dan Marino's Dolphins.
They might have played in the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah. And then it came out. And then the next time I played was in 86 when the Bears came out and they played Dan Fouts' Chargers. So
wow.
They have those games and nothing. And then now it's whatever, part of a 10-year contract. And we'll keep going. I mean, I don't think people always ask me, do you think there's going to be an NFL team in London? No, not in our lifetime. I don't think that logistics
Too
will.
much travel.
Yeah, if you're going to play everyone on the East Coast to the Midwest,
Yeah.
maybe, but nah, too much travel. Everyone, you could be part of everyone's bye weeks, but I don't think so. There's no need for it. Bringing out the games to play is more than enough for people.
Yeah, if it costs more money to do it, they're not going to do it.
No, quite.
Those guys, they're all about the money.
They are. And, the German Football League the Germans have just got their professional league going up again to try and bring back that sort of NFL Europe. It's going into its second or third year right now. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty good. But for any coach or anyone that's out there that's in the college level, whether you're 1, 2, 3, whatever levels you're looking for, do you want to find some players? You need to look across that pond, man. There are some talented players.
Yeah.
Sit there that love the game or just specimens. You're going to get your 6'9", 6'10" giant guys that play rugby or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll play American football, really like it. Or as young too that want to kind of continue on the game and then just let it go. I mean, NFL Academy has been out there for a few years now, and it's a high school level, and they're starting to get kids getting scholarships. I just got this one kid, D-end, who's just got Georgia. He just got all top schools, and he's got a 8-mile wingspan, ran a 4.5, does all these different crazy stats. Wow. And he's one of many. There's guys in the NFL now that come to England and didn't play the game until they turn up in England, and then 4 games later in the NFL. Like, he's just, you can coach someone, you can teach them, as long as they're coachable. That's half the battle, right? And
yeah, no doubt.
A lot of talent out there that's just sitting there. I know Paul Alexander's based out in Dresden, coaching a German team out there. And when he did his call clinic, the first one in the pandemic, the very first thing he talked about for 20 minutes was he's a traveled guy and picking up guys in Europe. And he's always on his Twitter talking about guys in Europe and moving on. So if you're always looking, that's a great place to start looking into getting some people over. Academic visas is easy. Anyone does international students, it's costs aren't too bad, and they'll think about doing it. And you might find a gem. And there's a few of us out here. There's a few Brits that coach out here. There's a couple of guys at high school, mostly in college. A couple of guys up in Canada coaching too. My buddy Rich Wurzel, who I played for in an all-star game. He's an OC at Wisconsin or Oshkosh. He's the OC and coach over there. He's a great guy. He's someone you probably want to get on here too. I'll hit him up to get you on there.
Hit him up.
He's a good guy to want to chat to. And like I said, there's a few of us. So there's even guys that, I don't know if he still does it, but there was guys that got into the video side of things, and he came out years before we did and ended up being the director of videography for Northwestern, with Hancock's team, and did that for over a decade. That's all he, so there's different paths for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. So it's pretty good, but it's a great place. But California is always open to anyone that wants to come out and visit. We are a traveling team. We do like to travel to a game. Like I said to you, this year we're going to be playing out in D.C. Not too sure who just yet. I think it might be St. John's, but in D.C. And then we were in Hawaii last year. And then we might be going back to Hawaii next year or wherever. We've had teams approach us looking at Alaska to Oregon to wherever. And we always look to try and play and have guys want to try and come to us. We can figure stuff out too and do contracts. So I know it's a little different. Southern Cal's that can be a little bit of a beast, but most teams can still go through peaks and troughs, man. It's just, but yeah, no, we're up for it. But yeah, if anyone ever wants to make a little visit out to see what we do in off season or spring, more than welcome. College coaches, definitely welcome. We have coaches, obviously, you can imagine coaches coming through as of starting from Monday.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much every day. We have a big showcase on the May 9th. And we feed them afterwards. We take them to the Outback and give them rack-a-roo.
Nice.
Yeah, we feed all of them and stuff. And yeah, that day gets about 60 or so coming in from all over the country. But yeah, during the course, more than welcome to hit me up, or anyone can message me or whatever and ask about if they want to do that. All college coaches, all levels. We've got kids for every level that wants to play, that wants to go and find a home. So, yeah, more than welcome to do that. But yeah, we've got that, and that's going to be busy. And we were on the field 2 days, Tuesdays and Thursdays are on the field, but we lift all the other days. So if people just want to see him lifting and talking to him, more than welcome to. So that begins the sort of the busy times, and then, as you know, so when does your spring ball start, Coach?
We don't have spring ball. We're not allowed to wear pads or anything, but we can practice year round.
Okay, so you're like, yeah.
So we no pads, and we pretty much can go out and throw the ball and practice whenever we want, no pads.
Yeah, which is what we do. So we still call it, we still label it spring ball, summer ball. We can't wear, in California, we can't wear pads until 10 days before a scrimmage, and then 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before the first game. So basically August, end of July, August, which bums me out a little bit. I kind of wouldn't mind having a shortened bit where you can like do a day or two or the last couple of days into spring to do it, and then maybe in the summer too. That would be nice. I know some states allow that. But...
So during the summer, y'all can't do nothing with the football?
Oh no, we do everything apart from wear pads.
Oh, so nonstop. Y'all can throw the ball and practice offensive line without pads. Yeah, same thing here. Yeah, it's a way to do it because everybody cheats. So why even have a rule?
Yeah, right. This is it. You know, people will wear like random makeshift helmets and stuff, and it's not breaking the rule because it's not a helmet. And I get it. I get the rule, and I think I get the theory behind. You know, you don't want to. It stops those kids doing the other sports coming back because they don't want to miss out on football because they're going to be behind in the time in pads. I kind of get that. I do, but I've heard in some states. Trying to think which state it was. I think there's like 10 states that do it. But I heard there's a couple of states that have, like they're allowed to do an hour a week, or there's a certain small length of time that they can do that allows all the other kids to join in, but there's no advantage to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I just think if we can get to, it'd be nice if summer, you could do summer a little bit longer, a few more weeks to kind of get, because you got to spend 3 days acclimatizing, and then next thing you know, you got to play a scrimmage But the guys get stronger anyway, so your kids should be in great shape. And technique-wise, it's just getting that feel for everything. You know, when I was in England, so now when we start in the collegiate, you kind of recruit people to come and play, and they have to pay to play. And so you'd have like your orientation, we call it Freshers Fair, and that would start in, I would say, probably September. Probably end of September will be one if you're lucky, one school. And our first game, so end of September, you'll turn up, you've had no practice, you'd have a tryout the next day, and then your first game will probably be beginning of November, end of October. So you've got like 3 weeks, 4 weeks to teach someone who's never played the game before how to play, and then go.
Wow.
And now in some cases, a lot of cases you'll have guys that played before, and so that's your base, and then you kind of add and fill in from there. Some cases, my first year, the team was 49 players in the program, and 6 of them had played before. The rest of us hadn't, and we still made it to the conference championship because coach was really good at what we did. Buck sweetener, keep it simple, let's go. Mm-hmm. So I'm used to working with small staff, short pressure moments. So you kind of have to be able to coach everything and anything and dip your toes into it all. But yeah, I wish we could do pads a little more, but no, it is what it is. But no, we get after it too. We kind of got to slow down a little bit this year because we don't want to get. But we had a few little bumps in the noses, little broken noses and stuff. But we will go at it too in the trenches. But we try and keep it smart, keep it simple. But yeah, obviously when the college coaches are in town, you know the skill guys the armbands look great, everything's fancy, they're going off, and I'm like. We're in a darkened room in the corner of the field.
That's right, the Mushroom Society.
Right, doing our thing. But you know, we've done that before, and then we've had all those dudes. I remember the last season, and we had the then San Diego State coach or someone was there in the corner just watching your light. I'm like, guys, if there's any time you want to do what I tell you now as best as you can, and then someone got offered afterwards. So you know, it's
nice.
it's one of those things, man. It's just getting on top of those kids. But I love it. I see my future doing it until I'm 6 feet. You know, high school.
6 feet deep. Yep.
Yeah, man. High school is great. You know, I've always thought about college. You know, I have thought about it, you know, for sure. But I'm at a great school, so I'm kind of happy to kind of keep feeding colleges, all levels that. But it's and it's California, so I mean.
Yes, sir.
I mean, why would I? Where else would I want to be right now?
Nice place, man. I got to visit sometime.
Coach, you know, and like I said, we're gonna get you out of state, so you're gonna make that happen.
Yep.
You can go and bring your whole podcast in one of the places. You're more than welcome to come out and
brother.
It's like, and hell, even doing it around clinic season. You know, coming out to like one of the California clinics or something out here, or Vegas. You know, let's go and get you at Vegas and walk forward and hit the craps table or hit some blackjack and
yes, sir.
Talk football. You are more than welcome to do that. And
thank
our
you,
doors
Coach.
are always, and to everyone, we always tell people that our doors are, we are really open unless you're a rival school in California.
Yeah.
Not so much, but no, but for sure, like anyone, I'm open book and we're open books and always willing to learn too. Like if someone does something different,
heck yeah,
shoot the shit about it. I'm, no expert. You know, I'm always learning too. I'm always trying and testing stuff and. Yeah, but make sure you guys are listening to the McNally. Make sure you get on there.
Man.
But you got to get on him, man. He's teaching you some gems, and then if you get Scott Peters back on again, there better be like 100,000 people on there.
Yeah,
you're listening to.
Scott Peters said that he would come back.
He did, yes,
and he was worried. I didn't tell y'all this, but he said he was worried with Coach McNally being on there at the same time. Because I said, well, Coach McNally promised that he wasn't going to talk. He said, well, I've never not known him.
He's going to talk.
He said, but I can handle him. He's like, it's okay. I can handle him. He's like reassuring himself. I was like, Coach, I know you can handle him. Like, look at you. I mean, yeah.
The best, one of the best things about the Coach McNally. So the Cool Clinic in 2020 when it was first went virtual, right?
Yeah.
And that was really good. You know, Herb Hand at UCF was talking, Joe Gilbert from the Bucks, and everyone. So it was really some really great guys speaking. And it was Coach McNally was talking about his mid-zone. So everyone was getting, everyone had an hour and 10. You know, Coach Bob Wiley's coming in, starts them off, and then he'll come back in and cut them off or whatever. No. So everyone's like saying thanks, you know, doing the usual how they got into the clinic, etc., etc. So you get there, you get to Coach McNally, he comes in. Now you don't have so all you get now is you're Bob Wiley, you can see you. You can't see Coach McNally, but you can see like whatever he had on the screen initially. I think it might have been like his huddle or whatever on the screen. And I've got to get the quote right, but how he starts it off, he goes, "All right, thanks, Coach Wiley. Okay, so." All right, guys. So no one's been talking for an hour, but you fuckers better strap in because I'm going to be talking for the next 3 hours as a bare minimum, a mid-zone. If you don't understand it, get the fuck out. If you do, get ready, get comfortable. Let's go. I know I should be, but I helped create this fucking thing. And let's go. I'm messing up. All right, we're going to get some snacks. I'm ready to go. It was.
I got to get that on tape, man.
Oh, man. And I think if you find the Cool Clinic and look how long the session was, I think it's like just under 3 hours. It was just
he didn't care. He was going.
He's like, I don't fucking care. I'm going to talk. Let's go. Everyone's just laughing. Coach Wiley's laughing. I'm like, okay, let's go. And
wow, man.
It was
what
awesome.
A great guy.
And there was a lot of some of the little videos you see on Twitter. There's a lot of those little videos and everything. And oh man, he's an absolute legend. There's no bullshit from him. You get what you get, man.
Man, he's a legend, man.
Can't handle it. It's what it is. You just can't handle it.
He's a legend. Thank you for coming on, Coach.
Hey,
we'll have you back on, okay? You just let me know when you want to come back on. Talk whatever you want to talk
about.
Yeah,
man. I'll definitely, brother. I'd love to come back and talk about, see how if I do any of the drop the posts or any different little new things.
Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe after spring ball.
Yes, sir.
Spring ball. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you.